Well, as Democrats continue to hint at the possibility of more new tax increases, two high-profile athletes shining new light on the issue of Americans moving to avoid paying higher taxes. Golfer Phil Mickelson recently complained about California's high taxes and said he might move elsewhere. Then he apologized for saying that. While Tiger Woods admitted that he left California in '96 for the same reason. He moved to Florida, which has no state income tax. And they are not alone. A number of studies suggest states with some of the highest taxes are also among those that are seeing their populations decrease. The high rates are in orange, while states with low overhead are seeing population growth. Some of those are in green. Joining me now, Simon Rosenberg, who's president and founder of NDN, a think tank and advocacy organization, also former campaign advisor to President Clinton, and Mark Thiessen, who's a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. So if you look, Mark, at what is happening in the states that are eliminating their state income tax or lowering their state income tax, it is remarkable compared to the states that are choosing the opposite route.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, look, what the Democrats don't seem to understand is that taxes affect behavior. And so what you have a situation is in high tax like California, where their tax policies have become confiscatory, people are fleeing in droves. And it's not just Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. In the last 2 decades, the state of California has lost 3.5 million residents who have fled that state. That's the equivalent of the entire state of Connecticut that's left the state of California. And you contrast that with the 9 states in this country that have a 0 state income tax. Those states, according to a recent study in the last decade, created 62% of all the new jobs, net new jobs created in this country in the last decade, when they only have 20% of the population. So what you see is that in states with confiscatory tax policies, people flee, and investment flees, and jobs flee, and all the rest. And in states where they have low taxes, people come, people invest, people create jobs, and expand. And so you've got 30 Republican governors trying to create a welcoming environment for business, and you have Barack Obama who's trying to remake America in the image of California.
Simon?
I think it's a ridiculous argument, actually. I mean, the idea that you've seen, most of the influx into places like Arizona and Florida and, the border states have been either both documented and undocumented immigrants. It's largely been Asian and Hispanic immigrants coming into the country, into places where there was growth at the time. It's not that people were leaving other states, it's that that's where the migration in the country went. And in fact, large numbers of the people in Arizona and Texas are undocumented immigrants, right? I don't think they were going there to avoid paying income taxes. It's where the jobs were. And I just think this idea that in this complex economy you can reduce the population movement from the north to the south, which has been going on for generations, frankly, to low tax rates it's just a bridge too far, Mark. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you, but it's a farcical argument, and there's no basis in it whatsoever.
He respects you, but you're being
Simon,
farcical and ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous.
Go ahead, Mark.
Simon, how do you explain the fact that 62% of the jobs in this country in the last 10 years have been created in the states that have a 0 income tax rate, whereas states like California are shedding jobs, states like Illinois are shedding jobs. All the states where the taxes go up, the economies are in the tank. And the reality is, we just had negative economic growth last quarter, and it's not just because of Obama's defense cuts. It's because of the fact that there was a threat of a massive tax increase. They put a chill on private sector job creation.
I do want to ask you about that. Let me just jump in and ask Simon about that, because even President Obama said when we were in the recession you shouldn't raise taxes. He said after we're out of it I'm going to raise them, but not during the recession. Here's that. It's a short clip. Watch.
He's absolutely right. The last thing you want to do is to raise taxes in the middle of a recession, because that would just take more demand out of the economy and put businesses in a further hole.
And with 0 growth in the last quarter, in fact, a contraction, I mean the opposite of growth, should he be raising taxes now?
Well, the taxes have been raised.
No, but he wants to raise more.
No. Well, the discussion is in the future, because in order to get the deficit under control, we're going to have to do 3 things, right?
But he said we shouldn't do it. He said when you're in a recession, we shouldn't.
No, Megan, but we're not in recession, Megan. We're not in recession.
Right, but we have 0 growth. We have contracted growth, so that's my question to you.
We're not in recession. We're not in recession. We're not in recession.
In fact, there was a lot of
positive. No, there was lots of positive economic news. I was on Fox Business last night with 2 conservatives talking about all the good news in the American economy, right? So don't jump to conclusions on this. The point is that what the president has proposed is what we're saying, and I'm happy to own this, right, is that if we want to reduce the deficit, which Mark and you and many other people want to do, we're going to need more revenue, we're going to need to get healthcare costs under control, we're going to have to cut defense. I think all three of those things can get done soon in order to make a real dent in the deficit, and I hope it gets done in this Congress this year.
Not me. I never said how I feel about the deficit. I like seeing it big. I like seeing huge debt. It makes me happy to see this. See, I'm not the only one who can't pass her budget. Mark, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, everybody watching today, what Simon is trying to tell you is that taxes don't affect behavior. That raising taxes has absolutely no impact on the economy, has no impact on job creation,
I'm
on all the rest.
I'm going to have to respond to this.
And the reality is that the threat of a massive tax increase led to 1.2% economic growth in the private sector last quarter, which the Obama administration had predicted was going to be 4% growth. So we have an anemic growth because we are taxing, regulating, and mandating our economy into submission.
Quickly, Simon.
Well, all that I'll say is that in the 1990s, we raised taxes on rich people, and we had the biggest economic boom in American history. And so the point is this idea that taxes itself, by themselves, determine whether we grow or whether we contract is just simply fallacious.
I gotta run. We're out of time. Thank you both.